What's going on, everyone, and welcome to the Alex Cuesta Daily Show. I'd like to apologize right off the bat for anybody that's been looking for the Daily Show or the Alex Cuesta Show with myself and David. Usually the Alex Cuesta Show drops today, and I've been trying to do these dailies, but the past few days I have been feeling under the weather. No, it is not COVID. Contrary to popular belief, people can feel ill without having COVID, but I just wasn't feeling right. Going to the bathroom way too much, headache, migraine, which I suffer from, but this one was awful. So, and yes, I did test myself for those COVID crazies. I tested myself. I was negative. I used one of those dumb at home rapid tests for the overly bad cold that is Omicron. But overall, no, I didn't have COVID. Yes, I felt under the weather. So I was not able to come and do any of those shows. Hopefully David and I will be recording tomorrow for this week's Alex Cuesta Show, and I'm back on the dailies. So as always, before we get going, today is the 13th of January, 2022. I appreciate everyone for getting back here. And if you'd like to find us, support us on socials, go search the Alex Cuesta Show on anywhere you find social media and give this a like, a share wherever you are, a retweet if you see this on Twitter, and rate us 5 stars, please, over here, because if you do, it brings up the popularity and that helps everything out and gets everyone else to hear all these great things that you seem to enjoy if you keep coming back. So we're going to get going with today's article. It's one that is from the 11th, and I read it. And at first, when I read it, it kind of annoyed me at first. And the more and more I read it, it's been infuriating me, because it's the same type of nonsense that we see going on with all of the intersectional type of critical theory crap that has gone on. Now, if I'm a little over your head there with saying intersectionality, critical theory, let me just dumb it down for you. It's taking whatever your perceived victimhood status is. So if I'm a woman, I'm less than a man. If I'm black, I'm less than a white person. If yada, 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 I'm gay, I'm looked at as less than a straight person. You know, all these things that are perceived, and kind of creating these narrative stories that are utter nonsense, besides to the people that tell it to each other all the time. So this is one of them. This is an article from the New York Post by Brooke Kato. And just to let you know about Brooke Kato has she, her in one of her profiles, I think on Twitter. So that tells you a lot about what she's going to write about here. And the title is How Hot Mom Bods Are Stealing the Dad Bod Spotlight. And this is under the living section. So right off the bat there, that should tell you a lot. How hot mom bods are stealing the dad bod spotlight. What spotlight was the dad bod under? Is it a spotlight that was created for them? Because let me tell you, it wasn't like a guy came out with his beer belly out or just, out of shapeness, and all of a sudden just started pushing it forward and saying this is sexy. It is never guys that come out and decide what's sexy, what isn't sexy. That's women that lead the way on that stuff. So right away, hot mom bods are stealing the dad bod spotlight. No, they're not. It's just being recreated and run over by more women creating this nonsense of objectifying. Because let me tell you, the objectification doesn't come from men right now. And it certainly doesn't come from the right if you're looking at that. So right away, right here, mom bods are stealing the dad bod spotlight. Yeah, because women are putting mom bods in the forefront apparently right now. So we're going to get right there going. So let's start off with this fantastic article here. Influencer Bethany Garcia is one hot mama. For her, stretch marks, cellulite, and a little bit of sagging are sexy symbols of her strength after the last 11 years of being pregnant, giving birth, and breastfeeding. All power to you, Bethany Garcia. All power to you. 11 years of being pregnant, giving birth, breastfeeding. Couldn't be easy. Being a guy, I'm really happy I don't have to do any of that. Watch my wife have 2 kids, watch my wife breastfeed, watch my wife's body change. It takes a different type of person. More power to you. Women are remarkable things. They're remarkable beings. They are fantastic. Let's continue. The Mama 5, who boasts 203,000 followers on Instagram, possibly more, this was 2 days ago, is among a growing contingent of women who aren't just reluctantly accepting their changed physique post-children, they're making it downright sexy. Okay, good for you. Good for you. Continuing. For her part, Garcia has been sharing glamorous snaps of herself in intimates or swimsuits or chatting openly about her sex life. It's an act of resistance in a culture that is slowly shedding its unrealistic expectations for mothers and their physical appearance after having kids. That is bullshit. There is no culture. There is no culture that sets unrealistic expectations for mothers outside of women doing it to themselves. And I'm saying this from the fact that men do not care about this type of stuff. Men, when after their women that they are married to have a child, are not the ones pushing the women to get their bodies back, to get back into shape. It is the women that do it to themselves. Women don't do any of this stuff for men. And you can, anyone listening to this ruffling their nose can ask any woman to be honest. If they are trying to get in shape, if they are trying to lose a few pounds, if they're trying to do anything like that, it's not to make their man happy or to make a man happy. It is to make themselves happy, to feel better about themselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I have a problem with this nonsense. Unrealistic expectations from mothers and their physical appearance after having kids. By who? It's not a culture thing. And if it is, it's a culture created by women themselves against other women. Let's continue. Recently, David Foster came under fire for praising his wife, Catherine McPhee's slender baby appearance, commenting on the saucy snap, quote unquote, what baby? In parentheses, McPhee later defended her husband, telling critics to, quote unquote, get a life, and that she lost weight without dieting. So right here, a husband can't be complimentary of his wife and give her positive reinforcement because she went back to looking how she wants to look. This is assuming when he's getting backlash, this is assuming that he forced her to get back into that shape and not that Catherine McPhee wanted to get into that shape. So this is assuming that she does not have any autonomy of her own to make her own decisions. So that's what these people that are putting him under fire are assuming. So they're taking her autonomy away from her. Let's continue. The backlash was a sign that the days of pushing women to, quote unquote, bounce back into bikini pods after giving birth are over. Instead, striking images of women's stretch marks and extra skin are now shared just as unapologetically as Leonardo DiCaprio-esque dad bods of yore. Now, let's stop right here. Leo didn't share those pictures. Leo was paparazzi'd. And then people started to comment and enjoy his pictures and enjoy the dad bod. And that was women that led that charge. It wasn't like Leo had paparazzi take pictures and a bunch of dudes fawned over him and then decided, I want to be like Leo. No, that's not what happened. It was women fawned over those pictures talking about how sexy his dad bod was. And it was picked up by a ton of other women. And let me give everyone else the secret there. The reason why a lot of women now, especially like dad bods, because a dad bod is a sign that a guy is doing more than just being at the gym, that he's working, that he's doing other things like trying to do things around the house or take care of his family. It's not a fat slob. It's an extra pouch. So that's why dad bods are considered sexy. It's because that guy's actually doing something besides worrying about himself. But for the other things in this article, days of pushing women to bounce back into bikini bods after giving birth are over. I'll tell you this right now. Guys aren't doing that. And if they are, then that woman is in an abusive relationship. And we acknowledge that. And she needs to get out of it. Because any dude that watches his wife give birth or watches her have a C-section and is in that room and watches his child come out of his wife and holds that baby for the first time, I'm telling you right now, I don't care how much of a tough guy they are, they're going to admit to you they are in awe. They are in absolute awe of their wife at that point. I know I was twice watching my wife do what she did. She was Superwoman twice, and she continues to be as a mother. But no one, absolutely no one, is pushing these women to bounce back into bikini bods. You know who's doing it? They're doing it because they remember their body and they wanted to get it back. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to push yourself back to getting healthy. And there's also nothing wrong with accepting that you might be a little bigger from now on, or that things might not sit the same way, or that you have stretch marks. But I'm tired of this notion that there is a culture of forcing women and making it seem like it's men or something doing it. It's not. There is no culture outside of women either doing it to themselves or other women being critical of women and making them do it. And I don't want to hear about comments on the internet from trolls that may be male or not, because we all know the internet and comments are not real life. They're not real life. People get internet muscles, say dumb stuff, stupid shit all the time, and it's not real life. And if you are offended by internet comments outside of those who are in your life, then that is a you mental problem. Let's continue. Quote, in the beginning, I forced myself to see myself as sexy, unquote. The 27-year-old told the Post, quote, I'll look in the mirror and I'm like, oh my God, you're hot. Even though I weigh more than I did in the past and my body sags differently, unquote. And then it shares a picture of the Garcia diaries. Continuing, truthfully, the Arizona native added, she, quote, faked it till she made it, unquote. But putting herself out there was worth it to correct the stigma that has long plagued the mental health of mothers, she said. Again, she bought into this nonsense that there's a stigma. The stigma was created by themselves. And let's acknowledge that there's a thing called postpartum depression. And I feel like a lot of this comes with part of that. Some women suffer it terribly. Some women suffer it minorly, but I feel like all women have a little sense of it because you just watched yourself stretch out into a balloon, pop another child out, but then you're looking at your body that you once had and it's not there. I can understand how that would be traumatizing. But again, they make it look like this stigma was created of an outside force, and it was not. And there might be one. We'll talk about that later. Continuing with the story, quote, it's unfair that this image of McPhee is out there making other vulnerable women and first-time moms believe that that's what they should, quote, look like, unquote, at that stage postpartum. Registered dietitian and body acceptance advocate Jenna Warner told the Post, it's overwhelming, it's demonizing, it's fat phobic. So I'm going to tell you right now, Jenna Warner is a moron. Because why should Catherine McPhee not share a photo of herself? Why should she not share a photo of herself if she is proud of her body postpartum? Or why should her husband not share a photo of his wife if he is proud of his wife and the effort she gave in her going back? Why is that a bad thing? Why is it only that women with stretch marks and women that struggle deserve to get praise? Not saying they don't, but I think they equally deserve it. And if it's not Catherine McPhee's fault that you feel a certain way about her photo. It is not her fault. That is a you problem, not a her problem. That's not a her problem. If anything, this proves what I'm saying, that women are the most striking against women. Because instead of posting up McPhee's post and saying, good for you, Catherine, I'm happy with the way I look, but good for you as well, because you look a certain way. No. You know what they're saying? That it is an unfair image. So let's tell Catherine McPhee she's not allowed to share what she looks like postpartum because it might offend what somebody else looks like. Is that how is that correct? And then with her Miss Warner's quote at the end there, it's overwhelming, it's demonizing, and it's fat phobic. To who? The fact that Catherine McPhee is skinny and sharing a photo of her being skinny is fat phobic? That's just a narrative. This is what I'm talking about with critical theories. Fat studies is one of them, and fat phobia is one of the bullshit that comes out of them. This is it. And this is part of it. Trying to make it seem like being overweight is A-okay and fine. And there's a difference between being postpartum and your body changing and you getting a new standard and then being an overweight and obese individual. One is okay. One is not. Let's continue. And just because new moms don't necessarily look the same as before doesn't make them any less hot. Agreed. I agree with that line. Here's another quote. The way that you previously felt sexy might change, but the reality is that your beautiful body created a human being and grew it, unquote. Absolutely. Agree with that as well. New York dietitian 34 said, quote, I don't think there's anything sexier than that, end quote. Probably things sexier, but it is still not bad at all. It's something to be proud of. Werner and Garcia aren't the only ones fighting the expectation to, quote, bounce back postpartum. There is no expectation unless a woman puts it on herself or other women put that on them. I repeat that. Sarah Landry, known for her 2.1 million Instagram followers at The Birds Papaya, great name, papaya is an awesome word, is a mother, divorcee, and then remarried, speaker, blogger, and influencer who regularly shares motherhood advice and body positive messages. Nothing wrong with that. Good for her. Along with intimate images of breastfeeding and details about her 50-pound weight gain since meeting her husband, she also encourages mamas to embrace their mom bods, excess skin and all. So let's talk. Mom bod's a stupid fucking phrase. It's a stupid phrase. Why? Because women created the phrase dad bod. They now have to try and quote unquote take it back from themselves. Here's what they try to do. Here's what this whole entire stupid fat studies feminist movement tries to do now. They create problems that aren't there. Dad bod is a phrase created by women, by magazines, by Hollywood, which, let's talk about it, are all liberal run. And they're the same liberals here that are doing this type of nonsense. I'm not even going to say liberal, leftist run, because most liberals aren't this stupid. Leftist run. So this is what they're trying to do. They try to create a narrative that isn't there to try and take back a narrative that never existed because they created it. Let's continue again. Namely, she compares her postpartum stretch marks to lightning bolts, a symbol of power and ferocity, and that she doesn't feel like losing out on life just to lose a few pounds. That's her prerogative, and that's fine by everyone, probably including her significant other, who probably never pushed her to get back into bikini shape, yet she feels demonized by others. Or she never said that, but I imagine that's what this story is trying to frame. Let's continue. Nearly a year after giving birth to her son, Werner said that she just now started to feel like herself, adding that she took that time to recover and care for her newborn, didn't have time for much else. Good for you. You are a good mother. You're a good mother. Awesome. Proud of you. Quote, losing baby weight, end quote, Werner said, is far overshadowed by other parts of the recovery process, like wearing adult diapers and losing hair. I witnessed it. That sucks. Continuing. Another quote. It's normal to still look 6 or 7 months pregnant after giving birth, Maryland dietitian and new mom Deanna Wolf, 33, told the Post. It continues, quote, it's why I did my best to share the raw stage of when you're wearing diapers, your skin is stretched, and your hair hasn't been washed for days, end quote, she said. Wolf, who regularly posts on Instagram about her childbirth experience, said she wished people would ask her more about her mental health instead of her body. Well, unfortunately, Miss Wolf, if you're posting on Instagram, most of the time it is photos, and you are sharing photos. So people are going to ask you about those photos, and it happens to have your body in it a lot. If you wanted them to talk more about your mental health, then write more articles and have them published more. And you'll probably get more people talking about the mental health if you talk about that topic. I don't share any sympathy for that. I don't. Or go talk to somebody and get your mental health fixed. There's people to talk to about that. We're ending the article here with the last quote. The most important thing is to see that baby and their growth and their life develop because of you, end quote, Werner said. Another quote, you have to give your body some time to recover. It doesn't necessarily look the same anymore, but it doesn't make it any less beautiful, end quote. And that's a true statement. But the rest of this article and what it's trying to make a narrative out is bunk. Yes, women postpartum are still beautiful. And I'll tell you right now, their husband, who they probably or their significant other, if they're not married, or whoever is sharing that baby with them, when they still tell them that they think they're beautiful, they're not lying. And I know most women just probably think they're patronizing them or this and that because they're not in a good mind state because they're not happy with their own bodies most of the time. But most men are not lying when they still think their wife is beautiful. Most men are not lying when they still say they're the best looking woman they think that they're in the world. It's not a false statement. And I think that admiration for our significant others grows after we see them giving childbirth. Mine certainly did for my wife. So this whole entire thing of this culture of forcing women to get their bodies back and this stigma, it's created. This is fabricated. And it was created not by men, and since it's the political podcast, not by the right, This was created mostly by women either demanding of themselves or other women being critical or competing with other women. Because how many times have women talked about the fact that when they go out, they judge every other woman there? So, of course, they're judging themselves against them. It's typical. You hear it all the time. So it's a narrative created by women about women. And it's bullshit. And the dad bod narrative is another one. No one's stealing anything. Mom bods are not stealing the spotlight from dad bods because men only claim dad bods because a woman wanted it. That's the only reason men claim them. Most men still don't like it. We still don't like that we're not in as good a shape as we used to be, but we just don't have the time to do it anymore. And I understand a woman's going to turn around and say, well, what do you think women do? No, they don't probably. And that's fine. Most men don't care. As long as you're not getting obese and gigantic compared to what we met you as, and if you are and the man's into it or your significant other's into it, good for you. But if the most part, if you're still, yourself, and even if you do get gigantic, if the guy accepts that and he likes you for who you are still, good for you guys. That's the thing. Most guys, I'm telling you right now, most guys, I firmly believe do not care. And if they are making those types of comments, most likely they're dickheads and you're in an abusive relationship and you should probably get out. But for the most part, the ones that want to get into that bikini body are the women themselves. They're the ones pushing themselves to do it. And does it possibly hurt their mental health? Possibly. I'm not saying that's not a factor, but it's not like anybody else. So there's an outside force. That magazine picture of Catherine McPhee still looking good after her first kid should not bring you down. That is a self-conscious, insecure thing that by you, and the reason women create competition amongst other women. That's honestly all I like to say about this article. I'm tired of these false narratives getting pushed. This is a nonsense narrative. Mom bods are not stealing the spotlight from dad bods because dad bods weren't a thing before women made it popular. No one is pushing women to get back into shape from a male culture side outside of women doing it to themselves or other women making other women do it, forcing other women. Your magazines and your movies in Hollywood, if they're doing it, then, thank the party that's creating this narrative or the group of people that's creating this narrative, because they're all on the left that are doing these popular magazines or that are doing these popular movies that are creating this image. So thank who you see there. So in the end, I don't know if this article was intending to be uplifting, but in the end, it was just a whole lot of crap outside the fact that postpartum women are still just as goddamn beautiful as they were prepartum and probably more remarkable people for pushing out a kid or getting the C-section, because that's just as difficult. Surgery sucks. All right. So that's going to end out this show. We'll see how many women end up hating me after it. But honestly, I don't care because that article needed to be called out for the nonsense. And I'm surprised it ended up in the Post. Honestly, I am. That seems like a Huffington Post article, not a New York Post article. But I digress. I appreciate everybody for listening to the Alex Quest, The Daily Show. You can find us again on socials. Just search the Alex Cuesta Show, last name Cuesta. I appreciate everybody for listening. Hopefully I don't get sick again, and I'll see you guys back maybe tomorrow, unless me and David record the show tomorrow. Then I don't know. It's going to get topsy-turvy. So everyone, again, appreciate you for listening. Have a good one all.